Welcome everyone to part 4 of the Blink-182 specials here on Fueled by Coffee podcast. My name is Matt, and I welcome you all back in for another chat. You're probably sick of hearing about Blink-182 right now, but this episode, we're through the history, we're through the minutia. Highly recommend you go check it out. Part 1 was like a geek out between Pete and I, and then part 2 and 3 were history, and now today I am joined by Pete once again, and the fan favorite, the living legend, the Fueled by Coffee Hall of Fame. It has to get more ridiculous every time.
No, it doesn't.
I'm joined by Sean as well. All three of us very much so. I don't want to say lifelong Blink-182 fans, but we've all been fans for very, very long time. They've had an impact on us. So today we are sitting here. We're going to rank their albums in terms of, I don't necessarily want to say like as a critic type thing, but like, you know, just our favorite to least favorite or least favorite to favorite, whatever. So it should be a fun and potentially controversial episode. So guys, welcome on. Should be a fun one today.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for having us, Matt. Of course. Glad to be back talking Blink again.
Yeah. Pete and I spent like 3 hours recording a couple weeks ago, and it was brutal, but
it got to the point where it was a history of Blink-182, and we got past the first time that Tom left the band, and then the second time, and like our brains were mush by that time. It just became crying about how upset we were at those times, and then how, you know, Matt likes Matt and I'm indifferent.
Yeah. But so as always, you can check us out, Fueled by Coffee Podcast, on Facebook and Instagram. Go buy some merch. Sign up for our email list on Linktree. We're going to be starting a newsletter every month with maybe some exclusive content, some exclusive merch.
Oh.
So get on there, get in that game. It should be a lot of fun. And as always, we're drinking coffee. Sean bought a brand new coffee, and he brought it over. So, Sean, what are we drinking?
Oh, man, I can't pronounce it. Keela or something like
some
that?
sort of Hawaiian coffee.
It's by 7 Coffee Roasters out of Washington, Seattle, Washington.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Nice and nice flavor.
I was gonna say, could you describe it better than really good, man?
I don't know.
Fueled by Coffee expert. Give me something.
No, so here's the thing. Like, I hate like trying to describe coffee, because I listened to a coffee podcast one time where the host is like all into like the roasting, the brewing, different types of coffee, all these different, and I'm like, damn, I thought I liked coffee, but like I'm not on this guy's level. So I never want to
nerd out about it like crazy.
Yeah, which is cool. It's really cool.
It's a medium roast, and so it, you know, everybody knows about Kona coffee from Hawaii, you know, but so this one's actually from Oahu, which is like a little known secret, I guess. And he started bringing it over to the States, and now we all get to enjoy it, and it's delicious.
It's really, it's not like too strong a flavor. Like, I've been drinking the Pete's Major Dickinson blend, and
it's not a dark roast, so
it's a nice, like, even it's pretty smooth. I will say that. Like, some coffee you get like a real big bite with it, which is good, but this is like a nice smooth taste.
Yeah,
goes down really easy.
Smooth medium blend. I'll take it, and that is right up my alley. So it's called Kona, you said?
No, it's the Oahu. It's 100% Oahu. But
okay.
The company's called 7 Coffee Roasters.
Okay.
But then it's like they're like brand within a brand or whatever, and it's like Keela or something like that.
Didn't you say this particular blend we're drinking was like $30?
Yeah, for a 12 ounce bag. Yeah, bro.
Exclusive.
I was like, I need one
there.
just bougie coffee once, you know. Like,
yeah, word. But so enjoying some great coffee right now. And we're gonna jump.
I'm having ginger ale, actually.
Ginger ale.
I had two. We're recording at night, so I can't have coffee at night, or I'll be up all night. So I'm drinking.
Up all night.
Up all night. Whoa, segment. Start the ranking.
Yeah. Also though, can we celebrate today, January 29th, the day of this recording, 2022, year of our Lord, Tom Brady has officially retired from the NFL.
Unbelievable.
Thank God.
I'll believe it when next year happens.
That's a good point. You should probably do that. Just wait.
Yeah.
He saw what Michael Jordan did, and he was like, "I'll do you one better."
Yeah. So is Tom Brady going to baseball as well, and then he's gonna do terribly and then come back?
He's not Tim Tebow.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, enough football. Just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, so let's jump right in. We're gonna rank the Blink-182 albums and then have a discussion. But before we get into that, so Sean is my brother-in-law. He's 10 years older than I am. He was, I would say, present. You were old enough to experience Blink-182 at their peak.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, I just wanted to get, because we talked in previous episodes about how like growing up, when we would talk about Blink and stuff, you viewed like the self-titled album as maybe like a sellout or just like not.
I've never used that term.
I swear to God, either you or Amanda have. One of you.
It wasn't me.
Or just like a disappointment. It's not.
Yeah. I was disappointed at the time.
But
for
yeah,
sure.
I just want to, like, what has your experience been with Blink? What are some thoughts you have? Like growing up, we mentioned that you went to the Pop Disaster tour. Like,
right.
What has being a Blink fan been like for you?
Well, so I can't remember how old I was, but my cousin Kelly, she's like a year or two older than me, and she kind of introduced me to Blink. I want to say right before Enema came out, and so I was listening to Dude Ranch, and I was like in elementary school, and so I was like, wow, this is really cool. Couldn't buy it or anything like that.
Yeah.
But then Enema came out, and I don't know how I got it, and I got it, and then I was just obsessed from there.
Right.
And I couldn't stop listening to it. Like every night I would do my homework and listening to that album
right
over and over and over again, and like just it gives you that little feeling, like I don't know, and plus going through puberty,
of course,
and, like, so I'm in 6th grade and listening to that album, and it just all the feels like
now, like, obviously, you said you were still pretty much a kid at this point. Were you playing guitar at this point?
I think I just kind of started.
Okay.
I got my first guitar in 6th grade.
Okay.
Christmas of that year. Okay. So.
Because I know, so like when we were going through the history, a lot of like Blink purists, I'm doing air quotes. That seems to be like the theme of this episode, me doing air quotes. But like, people that were following the band from, say, like Fly Swatter or Buddha up through, they viewed Enema the State as like a sellout album. They were like, this is bullshit, like, why did they stray from the Dude Ranch sound or whatever? Like, did you ever get that kind of vibe, or was it?
Well, I was too young.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Like, I didn't own all that stuff, but previous.
Yeah. All right.
But I mean, no shit, it was a sellout album. Like, it's huge. You know what I mean? Like, I'm saying that in a good way. Like,
right.
Like that album is monstrous. Like,
right. Now,
I mean, there definitely is like different phases of the selling out. If you want to air quote what Blink purists are going to say, well, that first wave says Enema's sellouts, and then you got kids who love Enema who say that self-titled's a sellout,
right?
And then you have like kids who loved self-titled who says the new stuff is a sellout because it's not so it's like everything could be a sellout.
I think it's a generational thing as well.
Yeah, definitely has to be.
Right. Now, like, and then obviously, like, getting older, you heard Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and as you and I have shared, we both absolutely love that album.
Oh yeah.
Now, dude, don't blow all the analysis for
no.
We gotta cut it down and break it down,
pound
it on its head.
We're just gonna breeze through it.
No, but I'm saying, so then, like, when Self-Titled came out, what about it was disappointing you? Like, what were you expecting when that album came out?
I guess, at the time, I was just a stupid kid, right? What year was that? I don't even know.
2003.
2003.
Okay. Yeah, so I was early teens, and I don't know, it was just like the sound was just so different. It wasn't very punk rock to me anymore, and at the time I was, really about like more hardcore punk,
right,
but also pop punk still.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was just disappointed that they didn't continue the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket,
Gotcha. I got you.
kind of sound. I don't know.
Did you listen to Boxcar Racer?
Oh, hell yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
I loved that album. For sure.
Because like
I wanted more of that.
Yeah.
I would still love a second album of that, but
it's funny that you say that. I was just,
but not with Tom singing anymore because he sucks now.
well, dude, so like I was just kind of digging around on the internet yesterday, and I found this interview that Tom did back like last fall, like 2021, October, November sometime. And he said him and Travis recorded another Boxcar Racer song like within the last couple of years, and it's just like floating around on someone's computer. And he was saying 2022 is the 20th anniversary of that album, and he's like, we'll probably he said we're gonna drop it, we just don't really know how we want to do it. So like there is new Boxcar at some point, and I'm like, I'm
definitely curious, but I hope it remains Boxcar-y and not like Angels and Airwaves.
So like here's what it needs, and I was just texting Pete about this last night. I was like, it needs to have like the heavy riffs.
Yes.
But then like if they want to do like a more updated like Travis with all his like drum programming, I feel like
we already have that.
It feels
Nine
like it
exists,
depends,
you know?
It depends when it was recorded and what they were going for when they recorded it. Because like even if it was recorded in 2016 and they were going for an old sound, you know you're going to get a little bit of a thinner sounding tom guitar and like those vocals that have to be tuned more and are a little whinier. But like if the heart of it is still there, it'll still kind of be like, you know, Neighborhoods when it's like, oh, there's fragments of true Boxcar there, but a little too separated. But anyways.
So that's cool. And then I remember you were the one who showed me Neighborhoods.
Yeah, I did buy that. I don't even remember. I think it was, what was that first single?
Up All Night.
Yeah, Up All Night.
Right.
Or
After Midnight.
And I mean, like, that guitar tone on that song is so heavy. And, like, then it goes, you know, they play with the quiet and then the heavy again. And, like, I love that. You know, the dynamic is just dope.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just a huge sounding song. Yeah. I love that about that song.
And I remember you showing me that album, and like, you know, I was just getting into Blink at that time, and I hadn't listened to all the albums yet, so I wasn't super familiar with their songs outside of like maybe what I'd heard on Rock Band or heard like on an MP3 player or something. But I remember you saying like, oh, they're like heading back in the right direction, you know, like you at the time.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. but with that being said, now let's jump into our rankings. I think now is a good time.
Before we say any more.
Before we go any further. So should I go first? So we're going to go from worst, or like, I guess not worst, least favorite to favorite. So the way that we rank these, for those listening and those who are familiar, we included Buddha, and we based it off of the remastered version. And then, so we included Dogs Eating Dogs, even though it's an EP. We included the original Buddha, and then we went all the way up through 9, which is the current album. So I will start us off. I have Buddha as my number 10. I have Dogs Eating Dogs as my number 9. Number 8, I have California, which we included California and the Deluxe as one. We just kind of mashed them together. So California is my number 8. Cheshire Cat is number 7. Sean's making a face. It's
okay.
Number 6 was Neighborhoods. Number 5 was Enema of the State. Number 4 is the self-titled album. Number 3 is 9, which I know is blasphemy. And then my top 2, honestly, it just depends on the day. It really just depends on...
You can't say that, Matt, because that would change. This is the one list for all times. You got to own it. These are your 2 and your 1.
Fuck it. Just do it, man. Rip that Band-Aid off.
You're allowed to change your opinion whenever you want. On today's date, this is exactly how you felt.
Next year, we'll re-record. Okay?
Okay, so like ranking this time, I will definitely say Dude Ranch was my number 2, and Take Off Your Pants and Jacket has generally been my favorite Blink album of all time. I have lots of memories attached to it, you know, lots of coming of age stuff, lots of, you know, getting into being a musician. But any other day outside of this recording session, it's like that was really hard for me, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and Dude Ranch, because it really just depends on the day. I love both of those albums so closely. But yeah, so that's my top 10. let's have.
Well, let Sean
Okay.
go next. I'm taking notes on your guys' list, so I know.
If I have to rank dogs eating dogs, it would be 10, but I wouldn't even give it a number.
Oh, jeez.
I hate it that much, honestly. No, there's maybe a song that's okay on it. But then for number 9, I have 9.
Okay.
Number 8, I
Fitting.
have Neighborhoods. Number 7, I have Self-Titled. 6, I have California. 5, I have Buddha. 4, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. 3, Dude Ranch. 2, Enema. And 1, Cheshire Cat.
Wait, number 1 was Cheshire Cat.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
I probably listened to that one like the most once I discovered it, and just couldn't stop because it's so raw and like it's pure to me, you know?
Huh.
No, that makes sense, especially like when you said you kind of. We'll talk about it more, but when you got into them, is the right time to be like, oh, I want that raw or edgier sound because I don't want to take that pop sounding mainstream path.
Pete,
right.
I'm not going to reveal it, but has your list changed at all since you sent me this pic? Okay,
no,
good.
It hasn't. So this is I would say this year's Pete's list. I like the idea of an updated one each year. We'll touch base each year, see if it's changed, but a lot of I'll discuss. I'll rank it. Okay. So at number 10 comes both versions of California. I just, they are what they are. Also at 9, I had 9. So
oh shit,
had nothing to do with the name. I think it just shows.
Yeah.
You just hate Matt Skiba.
I don't know, Matt.
You said you changed.
That's not even my problem.
I changed my opinion of it from last to better than California. Okay, so it's a tough decision between the two of those. If you ask me. It is moving up. At number 8, I have Cheshire Cat solely because we went with the remastered version of Buddha, which I put at 7. I like the better quality recordings a little bit. At 6, I have Dog Eating Dogs. At 5, I have Enema of the State. At 4, I have Neighborhoods. At 3, I have Dude Ranch. At 2, I have Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And at 1, I have Self-Titled. And just for reference, in like 9th or 10th grade, I set my email to be Toy Patch Kid 182, and that was like my gamer tag on all my games. So that used to be my favorite, but I've outgrown that.
I feel like at some point when I met you, I don't know if it was an email that I had, but I remember seeing something of yours that was like Toy Patch something, and I was
Toy
like,
Toy Patch Kid 182 was my gamer tag on PlayStation 3, where I tore it up on the online Rock Band room. So,
jeez,
had to represent. But yeah, that's the list.
Okay. Now my question, the first thing that popped into my head, I did a big sigh when I saw your list the other day. What do you have against the Matt Skiba albums other than it's not Tom?
I think that just in when I'm listening to Blink 182, what I want is Blink 182, and I just wish that Matt Skiba, Mark, and Travis had done it under a different name, because I feel, especially in California, I just feel a lack of heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in Toy Patch and Enema, they're selling out a little bit. They're making their sound popular, but it just felt like them. Whereas California felt like, all right, this is a manufactured trying to sound like old Blink, but it sounds like a band covering Blink. And then 9 has recently changed from that same opinion to, okay, Skiba's being incorporated more, but to me, that's just not, what I wanted out of. I know that you can't change things, but I would just rather them. It's like kind of like a TV show. Like I'm a big Office fan and been listening to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of people say that's a great show because it ends when it needs to end and it doesn't go on. And like I think Blink could have ended when it ended, either time.
Take off your pants and jacket.
And whenever you wanted it to end, it could have ended. But I just think once the cast changed too much, that's when start a different show.
Gotcha.
But I will say, in listening back and making these rankings every time, it's like you can criticize all you want, but I'm never gonna write a song as good as the worst song on California. So like there still
Exactly.
is that. And even a lot of the bands that, you know, we love that formed because of Blink, like they would not be able to put out that quality of an album. But for me, it's just like, I kind of want to hear you guys, you know. And this is where it's tough because it is a little bit of the Tom sound, and as soon as Skiba comes in, it's going in a different direction that I don't think Blink would have gone in, because it's getting in that, you know, different, working into Matt's strengths as opposed to Tom's. But that's what they got to do. I just think, you know, do that as a different band, but to each their own, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I do think like California. See, the thing is, like, I really liked that album when it came out because there hadn't been a new Blink album in 5 years. Like, I mean, Dogs Eating Dogs, okay, 4 years, but like a full length Blink album, there hadn't been a new one in like 5 years. And I remember, you know, where I was graduating high school. I was about to graduate high school. I was starting my first job. I went to see them right before California came out. So like, I remember really liking that album, and I listened to it regularly. But I do feel like, and it's a fun album, and I will agree with you, like it does feel like it is empty to a sense, and that's why I think like if we had to rank them separately, the deluxe would be way above, because I think the deluxe were the songs that definitely fit the Matt Skiba vibe a little bit more, but they weren't safe enough. Like I feel like California, they tried to release as like a very safe, like,
right,
oh, it's our return, put us on the radio.
I feel like they've been kind of just going for safe since I don't even know, after the self-titled, probably, because the self-titled was pretty different, and like they were taking risks, you know, like it was a very different band compared to the album before that. And I feel like they just kind of, they were like, oh well, this is the formula, this is what works, let's just, you know, do this style over and over again and make money. But I mean, who knows? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, and I will also say that even though that it's low on my ranking, when it came out, I was excited about it, and it was like that's where it got anybody who liked that era of Blink. Because even if you're like, like this is just ripping off, you know, the best of Blink, it's still like, fuck, this is an easy listen. Like it's easy to listen through. And then they do hit you with like, Cynical's a great opener.
Oh, for
and
sure.
like San Diego's a great song, and Left Alone's like, there's great songs trickled in there. It's just overwhelmingly formulaic and kind of just like,
that's,
you guys are so good and you've done great, but I know you can do better.
They probably should have whittled it down as well, because that was just
it's a long
lot.
listen. Well, and the thing I think too, I think a lot of what is to blame is the producer, which I think Pete and I touched on one of the earlier episodes, because like they had apparently, Mark and Travis had apparently been writing with Matt independently without a producer, and they had a whole bunch of songs written, and then when John Feldman from Goldfinger came in, they scrapped everything and started over completely.
I think he's a fucking turd.
Well,
just because of this, you know, the Blink 182 thing.
That's the thing. Like, if you listen to California, even as compared to like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which I would say is a similar, like it is that formulaic Blink sound. The guitars on California are almost non-existent at sometimes. They're so thin. They're so like he takes all the low end out of them.
Like in the background.
Yeah. Or like even like Travis's drums, like I've always said I hate how the drums are mixed on California, because to me it just sounds like he's playing boxes. They're so flat.
I mean, it's a very modern pop punky sounding mix, which is kind of like, you know, if you're going into some of the larger pop punk artists, it's a lot of that sampling and kind of using other instruments, and not, you know, even a lot of amp simulators, in my opinion, are not going to sound as warm as a real amp. And that's a very picky thing to say. But somebody who's listening being like, back on Enema, they're blasting out of a Marshall cab and picking that up with real mics, and now they're just sending through, you know, amplitude on, you know, a rat pedal or whatever it is. It's just like, you can tell it's kind of thin and harsh on the ears, combined with, you know, a lack of, you know.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say some of the lyrics, you know, a little bit, I would say. And maybe in the joke songs particular, I thought they were lazy joke songs. Maybe it's just because I think, you know, at that age, you got to get creative with your joke songs. Otherwise, it's like that was a lazy, just like.
It's like, oh, we have to do this.
I don't know,
It's
but I know you
expected.
love Built My Pool, Matt. So I don't want to.
Oh, that's a great one though. That is fantastic.
I don't know. That one to me just felt like.
So
just
like
throwing joke songs in to make you like, oh, we're like old times.
Well, yeah, and not. I know Sean has a point, but I just want to say like I'm cool with the sampling and I'm cool with the different sounds, like whether it's percussion or synths or whatever. But it's just for me the mix is like if you listen to the Goldfinger album that came out around the same time as this,
I remember this.
They sound. It's almost like John Feldman just has presets that he uses either for Travis's drums
I remember that.
and the guitars, and like I like some songs
and even
on
the
that.
song structure.
Well,
like
and
some of
that-
the
Yeah,
songs
it
like,
sounds a lot like copy and paste.
Well, yeah,
Like,
and
and
that's-
then just let's do our vocals over it instead.
Well, and that's the thing that I didn't like also with the formula of California. It was like Matt verse, Mark verse, chorus, and then it would be like maybe Mark chorus, Matt chorus, someone gets the bridge, and it was like
Yeah.
every song was almost identical. There's, like you said, there are great songs on there, or even like again going back to the producer thing and like being lazy with lyric writing. The song California, like I remember the first time I heard that, I thought it was a really pretty song until he got to the chorus and he said like living in the perfect weather, spending time inside together. I was
So
like,
corny.
that is so corny, and he obviously wrote that in like 3 minutes, because the thing is like Sean and I are very familiar with all of Alkaline Trio's discography, all of Matt Skiba's side projects. Like for Matt Skiba to write something as lame and basic as that, and like from interviews I've heard, like John Feldman would be like, I'm going to get a cup of coffee, write a chorus by the time I get back. And that's probably how you end up with those generic half-assed choruses.
Even still, you probably should have been like, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
But either way, like, yeah.
But we're not Blink-182, so you can't judge too hard.
No, are they even Blink-182 anymore?
Well, right.
I'm just kidding. They are. You got to count it as that, which is why it's tough. It's tough to give, a list. Like a true review of like an overview of a list of albums. You would have to give it to someone who's never heard them, but knows music, which is very unlikely. Maybe they're not going to know it as in depth, but like there's going to be some sort of idea, right?
I think what's that guy, the punk rock MBA guy? I think he did a video on Blink. He's really smart. You ever watch him, Pete?
That dude.
Yeah, Finn.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty dope.
Yeah, he's really cool. But yeah, like I said, California, fun out. The deluxe I thought was better, but the songs just weren't as safe, and that's probably why they were on a deluxe.
Yeah, that's why I would rather that.
Yeah, well, and that's why I would rank it higher, but
unsafe music.
We combined them, so. Or even like I don't want to spend this whole episode talking about California, but like Los Angeles sounds like a Linkin Park song, and I remember the first time hearing it, I was like,
yeah, that's not a good.
So here's a question.
I love Linkin Park.
Oh yeah,
but not in a Blink-182 song. Sorry.
Should we take this conversation further into Matt and go between? I feel like we should go back and touch on either, one thing that I was interested in was just, I know you mentioned the Cheshire Cat, Sean, is your favorite, and kind of just touching on that. And should we each touch on why our favorites are our favorites? Because I think there's definitely a personal element and a time and place that plays into that. So we should probably explain that.
Sure.
I mean, Sean, you kind of explained yours already, but was there anything for when did you hear Cheshire Cat? Would you say? I know you said around 6th grade, but how long did it take you to get that deep into them?
Yeah, I mean, pretty quickly. I mean, going to FYE all the time back then.
Ooh,
every weekend you go in there and you're like, oh man, there's more Blink. Okay, cool. So whatever they had, I would just eat it up. And so I want to say that was one of the first ones that I bought besides Enema, just because I was like, oh, there's a cat on the front. That's interesting. Why?
And it's funny
because
so
it's
weird.
And then the back cover is even weirder, and you're like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Yeah.
And then you see all the songs, and at the time I was probably used to I had a Ramones album that had 20-something songs on it, and I was like, oh, well, it's super punk rock then, because it's it has a million short songs on it.
Yeah.
Great. And then, listening to it, I was just like, this is hilarious. And they're just so witty, you know?
Yeah. Well, and
that's actually, I was gonna say that's a really good point, kind of going on why new Blink isn't as great. It's like all throughout the early from Cheshire Cat up until Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and even on self-titled, like the lyrics were clever. It got more serious towards self-titled and Neighborhoods and that, but the lyrics were still well thought out and clever. Whereas in California there was, and Nine, it got better again a little bit, but it was still more of those just like generic, like safe
cookie cutter,
safe choices. Yeah. Whereas like there are some funny ass lines and just like memorable lines.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's sorry to cut you off. No, like Cheshire Cat, I was just saying off air. It's crazy. I listened to it. All week leading up to this, I've been listening to all the albums, just trying to it always ended up where I was putting one against the other. What's coming next on my list? And Cheshire Cat was one of those where like I always forget about how good it is until I listen to it. I'm like, damn, this is so good. Because the thing is like with Sean and I, that's an album we've listened to together, and it's like kind of an inside joke. Like regularly we will be doing the like a dog, he's loyal to his bone. Or quoting like Depends or Benoit Balls. We're constantly like throughout the month, like, quoting stuff like that. But listening to that album all the way through, like, it is so solid and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Touchdown Boy.
Yeah, Touchdown Boy is such a good song, dude.
One of my favorites of all time.
I would say for sure.
Yeah, those lyrics are just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And on the earlier albums, like before, Enema, there was a lot of wicked guitar licks that like they weren't super complex, but like I love Wasting Time off of Cheshire Cat because like, he just shreds for that song.
Or like on TV, like the stuff that Tom's playing and like and how he played all downstrokes
while he sings it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I just sent Sean a video. There's this live set that just got uploaded like within the last couple weeks from the Cheshire Cat, maybe Dude Ranch era, and like they're playing those songs.
It was very punk rock.
It was so wild.
They were so just like in the moment and sloppy and
it's funny
but I love that.
And it's like Mark was like dancing around like an ass, and he's getting Tom to laugh, and Tom can't even finish singing the verse because he's laughing at him, and he's like, "That's funny, do it again," like during the bridge.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, they were doing Benoit Balls.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Well, because I looked it up because I was like, have they ever played this song
send
live?
That to me.
I'll send it to you.
It's so good.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Cheshire Cat is so good. But yeah, if we're going off of favorites, like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket for me, I listened to it. It was a time in my life. I think my favorites are really my favorites because of the time in my life when I heard them, right? Like that's why I have 9 ranked so high, which I've explained to Pete before. But like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, I was in 8th grade. I had just started playing guitar maybe 6 months before I heard it. Getting into that, playing music, learning songs, writing music at some point thereafter. And, just that coming of age, you're talking to girls, you're kind of growing into your own, you're kind of, and it was like right around the time you left for the Army. And I was saying on an earlier episode, like where I would always like kind of have you to lean on, like you were off doing your thing, and then I found this awesome band and this awesome music, and like I kind of leaned on that as I was growing up. And I think Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, like I have those fun like summer memories like with my friends at the time. Oh, we're out ding dong ditching. Oh, we're talking to girls. Oh, we're running around, like doing stupid shit in the woods and at 7-Eleven at 11, like midnight. But then there are all those times where it's like, oh, my girlfriend dumped me and I'm listening to, Shut Up, thinking I know a lot about the world. Right. And, it's like one of those things where, and also that angst of like that coming of age where you're like, my parents don't know what I'm going through. And it's like, but I just think it was like it just came at that right time in my life when like I needed something to lean on. And I think even up until this day, I will listen to it and it'll bring back those memories. And even like being into recording and mixing, like I appreciate it on an even deeper level now, other than just the emotional aspect. Like I almost like study the albums now. And like, that's like, it's so many things about it. And that's why it's my favorite,
It's really crazy about that. So 8th grade is when that album came out, like for me,
right?
And
for real.
And I was doing the same shit, and I like so we were the same age, but like totally 10 years apart, which is just wild.
Yeah,
that like it was the same, and we both had like pretty much the same experience listening to the album at the same age.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's Yeah, unreal.
But yeah, and it's one of those things too. Like I just remember, because that is a longer album. Like especially with all the bonus tracks. Holy shit! Being a teenager, hearing the "When You Fucked Grandpa" and "Fuck a Dog," like oh my god! Like
see, back then it was crazy though because it wasn't all on one album.
Yeah, and that was the cool thing was how they had.
See, that's the experience that I didn't even get because I just got the torrent that had all the songs. I didn't have to do the searching.
I forget which color I had.
Dude, there's like the pawn shop in Easton. With the record store in it, Pete. There's this pawn shop in Easton that has a record store in it, and I was there the one time, and they had an old print of "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket" with like one, and I don't remember which one I got, but
I want to say I
bought
had the Airplane.
Yeah, I feel like I had the Airplane, or I may have had
Waddy had a different one.
I think I have the Pants actually.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like the acoustic joke songs and What Went Wrong, but then there's the Don't Tell Me That It's Over. I think mine is that
that's
one.
A good one. Okay. Don't Tell Me It's Over and shoot, Time to Break Up. That was a great song.
Yeah.
Time to Break Up.
But yeah, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. So good.
Yeah, and it's funny. That was for the longest time my favorite, and I think it's because I was in seventh grade when I really went from like, oh, I know greatest hits and whatever's on my brother's mix CD to I downloaded their entire discography, and I think that was the best one that encapsulated some of the punk rockier elements from the earlier albums. Plus it had that mainstream feel, but it also had, I would say either darker or just like a little bit more of an aggressive
they got
feel to
really
it. So it was
heavy
like,
for that one.
Yeah. The guitars were, and even some of the like content, like stay together for the kids and stuff. But it just had
totally
it just
right there.
Yeah. And even like a song like "Give Me One Good Reason" that was just like, my God, this is a banger. But it's like dynamic. It has the Enema sound, but it also has some riffs. It was the best of all the early stuff combined. And I think I was at a stage where I needed that pop punky feel, but now I'm at the point where I've expanded more and I like some more indie and more just like cleaner guitars, a little different, and it's weird also on the other spectrum. It's like I like the Foo Fighters and shit like that. And I think, Self-Titled he took Boxcar Racer and had those heavy ass riffs and stuff, but also had the melodies, and he put that into Self-Titled with Mark having a little bit of a more mature sounding pop punk sound, and then Travis bringing in all sorts of drum beats, and it's just all the way through a stellar album that's a lot more dynamic and incorporating the electronics and the other elements in a tasteful way, not overusing them. So now I see that kind of as, that's what I aspire to write, music like that. It has meaning. It's a little, the jokiness has gone away, and that's kind of the type of music I do like is, not totally serious, but more serious. It has heavy guitars. It's got cool riffs. It's got great melodies, and it's dynamic. It's like and they tastefully use like pianos and samples. So it's like, well done. I really appreciate that album now.
So that's why Self-Titled's your favorite.
Yeah, that's why it's my favorite now. And why Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. It's like that's where it's so close, but I've just hit a point where I'm like, oh, I love the just different sound of Self-Titled, and I'm gonna give that the nudge.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned "Give Me One Good Reason" because just to wrap up my thought from earlier when we were talking about Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, like because that's a longer album, I remember being a kid and like, I would listen through the whole album, but I remember the first time that song actually, like, I stopped to listen to it, that riff at the beginning, I was like, ooh, I would have to keep restarting the song and I remember then I was like, I gotta learn how to play that, and I like shared it on Facebook, and I was like, yo, like check this shit out, because
I love those moments.
Like I thought such a good song. That's such an underrated song.
Yeah. And I feel like too, like that's one that I can relate to nowadays because of how everyone is so like they want to put a label on everything, and that's very much like Tom being like, fuck this group, fuck that group, I want to be me, and like that's what I thought is like really cool about that,
And musically, it's kind of like a faster moving Stay Together for the Kids, where you get that like clean intro, and then a little bit of a quieter palm muty verse, and then the big chorus is just like well done, really well done, and cool drums.
Yeah.
I got another talking point. Let me know if you have a talking point, but I'm just really interested to discuss the neighborhood's dog eating dogs era and how like for Sean, there seems to be, a little bit of respect given to neighborhoods, but dogs eating dogs was Kaka, and I kind of respected them both. And I know, Matt, we have similar opinions for some of it.
So actually, that's a good segue, because I did want to go into dogs eating dogs, because really thinking about it and listening to everything, I was gonna rank dogs eating dogs higher. Like, it was probably even gonna be above neighborhoods until, not in the top, what was that, top 6, like not that high, but I did rank it at number 9, because after listening to dogs eating dogs, like I said, I got into Blink like 2011, like summer, fall 2011, and dogs eating dogs came out, what was that, like Christmas of 2012. And we talked on an earlier episode, Boxing Day, that acoustic song was like the first single they dropped, and I remember being I
remember that.
I said, like, on the episode, like, I was excited, but I was also disappointed because it's not what I was expecting. Like, they were like, oh, I remember Tom posting, like, oh, there's a folk song on the next Blink record. And then hearing it, I was like, eh. And I remember, like, that was, like, the height of my fandom. That's when I was, like, I wanted to be Tom. I was obsessed with Tom. Sean remembers this. Like, he was in the Army at the time, and I was, like, sending him all these clips of Blink on YouTube.
Doesn't every Blink fan want to be Tom at some point? Like,
absolutely.
If you play guitar, at least, anyway. Like, that was me. I hated Mark for the longest time. And now that I'm older, like, Mark's my favorite. I don't know. But I don't get it.
I remember, like, I was sending Sean all these videos, and he's like, dude, I've had enough of fucking Blink. Can you please stop? Like,
I was in a totally different place in my life.
Well, and I could see where that would get obnoxious, because now I'd probably be like, dude, stop sending me Blink. I've had enough, or stop sending me whatever. Like, you're sending me the dumbest.
Well, I wasn't even listening to punk anymore at that point. Yeah. Like, it was just straight up, like,
deathcore.
Deathcore.
Yeah. but like, so yeah, I remember, like, that was like the height of my fandom when Dogs Eating Dogs came out, and like, of course I loved it because it was almost like a honeymoon phase, right? You're like, oh, like, yeah. But now listening to it in hindsight, the reason why I have it ranked so low is, I think, because I really only like When I Was Young, because that chorus, Pete and I talked about it, the verse is cool because it's like fast, and it's got like the, almost like drum machine, like Travis playing that really simple beat, and then it goes into the halftime really heavy chorus, and the lyrics on that one are really cool. And then Dogs Eating Dogs, the song, is really, really cool. But then outside of that, I really don't, like, I'll turn it off after Dogs Eating Dogs, because I think Disaster is almost too much Angels and Airwaves influence. Tom's playing
with the whole thing.
Tom's playing the same. I was just listening to I Empire today, and Tom with this whole, this.
Yeah, the riff that he uses on 90% of Angels.
I can't stand that.
Yeah. So, like, my thing is, like, that's all Disaster is. And then, like I said, Boxing Day, it's an okay song, but it's not really what I'm looking for. And then, like, Pretty Little Girl to me is just corny.
Horrible.
I don't like Yellow Wolf. And then him on the song just and like
that's
thing is
by far the worst song on that one.
That may be the worst Blink song ever, in my opinion.
I have to agree.
And that's my opinion. But the thing is like, listening to that song, like, it would be way better. So listening to the
Pretty Little Girl.
Yeah, Pretty Little. I remember for the longest time, the first verse, I think, where he says, "It seems like it's fine as my hand is moving up your arm." It sounds like Tom says, "It seems as you farted," or something. So for the longest time, I was hearing Tom say something about farting.
Oh my god!
No, but like,
it's better. Actually, you improved it.
So like, listening to that song the other day, the bridge where Yellow Wolf is on, the instrumental is really cool. If they would have just left that as an instrumental bridge, it would have been 10 times better. But Yellow Wolf just fucking ruins it for me. So I think, like, Dogs Eating Dogs, I love the first 2 songs, but then after that, I couldn't care less. Like, I'll just turn it off.
That's why I didn't even want to put it on.
Yeah.
Just because, like you said, the first 2 songs, I'm like, okay, like, this is okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right. And then you're like, all right, I'm sick of the synth. Okay, let's get on with it. Next album.
Yeah. So Pete, what are your thoughts on Dogs Eating Dogs? How do you?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree a lot, but I also don't pay as much attention to lyrics. So I go, especially around that time, is like when I'm trying to get. I am still definitely a Blink fanboy, but I'm getting into the Wonder Years, Story So Far, other bands like that have some more guitars and more interesting. And I think that's like when I'm starting to be okay with elements outside of the punk rock, and I think that's where like I like the instrumental of Pretty Little Girl. I kind of like how the synth works in there, and I think Travis is a beast on that entire album, and just being the drummer at heart. So it's like Dogs Eating Dogs, When You Were Young, and I don't know. I'm a big Boxing Day fan, but might just be the melodies and I appreciated that song.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like Pretty Little Girl, I think Yellow Wolf ruined the song. It would have been corny but better. And also, I was thinking I wanted to bring this up. Remember our Green Day episode? What song was it that I said sounded like country? Was it Sassafras Roots?
No, it was Pulling Teeth. Dark Horse.
Yeah. So like listening to this, I always kind of got a country vibe from the chorus of Pretty Little Girl. Like it might be the melody, because it is a simple just like punk chord progression, but then like the melody, I almost felt like I could hear it on like 96 Cat FM. I don't know, random
Cat Country
96. But yeah,
what the fuck?
But yeah, no. Well, and you and I did talk. Pete and I were talking about Travis's drums on Dogs Eating Dogs. Like,
see, I was so distracted that I couldn't really listen to the drums. I was just very distracted by synth.
Well, like Dogs Eating Dogs, the song, he's doing this crazy, like he's got his snare and his kick going kata 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 kata, and then like in between those, he's hitting different cymbals. And I've always wondered, like, how does he play that? Because it's such a wild beat.
I don't understand.
Well, and in the bridge, he's doing this crazy like hi-hat bells. Like he does in bridges often, where he kind of just uses the whole kit and makes really unique beats. Like I don't know. It's just like I guess different time, I guess time and place goes into that as well. It's like I liked where they were going with Neighborhoods and kind of a different sound that was maybe more fitting for where they were at in their lives, right? Their ages.
I like the more rawness, I would have to say, of Neighborhoods, because everything felt a lot more natural and stripped down. Like the drums were very just drums.
Yeah, no, I agree.
There wasn't a lot of like sampling, I don't think, right?
No, that was not really.
Was pretty plain.
Like it was just like a bunch of dudes got together and made an album.
Yeah, well. Yeah, and what's funny about that? They actually didn't record that album like together. Like Tom was in one studio in San Diego.
You would think that they were though.
Yeah, I think from what we've like kind of gathered, like after Travis's plane crash and they all got together in the studio, and that's like when they wrote Up All Night. But then like a lot of what I've read in interviews, and maybe even in Travis's book, I think it was like Tom was in San Diego, Mark and Travis were in LA, and all they were doing was sending the songs back and forth, and that's kind of how they pieced that album together.
See, I do feel like Up All Night sounds and feels different from everything else.
It's a very strong track.
Yeah, it's super strong compared to the rest of the album.
So I guess let's talk about Neighborhoods now. Because we're already on the subject. Yeah, No, I'm just saying, like, let's make this the Neighborhood section. Yeah, well, see, like, that one was so hard for me. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm watching The Office again.
It's a great watch, and it's a joke that will never not get a laugh.
Seriously, I've tried it many places, and it works. Every time I'm at work, it just works.
We've even got my dad to laugh at it, who, like,
it's so great.
Yeah. But either way, like I was struggling because I was initially going to put Neighborhoods at 5 above Enema of the State. And I think part of it was just me being like, I've heard Enema of the State so many times, and like Neighborhoods is a little more complex. There's a little bit more going on. But then listening to them back to back, I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? Like, so that's why I put Enema above it, because, Enema, like, it was weird. I've listened to it so many times, but then putting it on this week, I was like, oh, it still sounds fresh somehow.
Yeah,
like, it's crazy.
It does.
But yeah, like, so Neighborhoods, I will say Up All Night's a very strong track, and it's one of those ones that I don't listen to often, but hearing it this week, I was like, damn, like, I forgot how good this song is.
Yeah.
And then like Ghost on the Dance Floor, I really like as an opener to the album. I feel like it sets the tone really well, and it fits like that album artwork, that black and white or like gray. It has that feeling, almost like this foggy gray, like I think I said like Phantom of the Opera, just kind of like spooky feel to it. It is very Angels and Airwaves track though, because of like the synths, and I don't know. And then another one that really stood out to me is This Is Home. It's towards the end of the album. it's got like a classic Tom like you know, but listening to it, there's a I don't want to call it a bridge section, but it's like a post chorus where like in one ear there's an acoustic guitar, and then in the other there's like, I want to say an electric or a synth, and it almost sounds like The Cure. And the thing is like, I'm a huge fan of The Cure. Like, they're one of my favorite bands of all time, and it was weird. Like, this week I just made that connection. I was like, damn, like this really shows because they're huge Cure fans too, and it really shows like that kind of Cure-y influence. You know,
yeah, they really started to show that on like the self-titled. I felt like,
of course,
Robert Smith is on the fucking album.
Yeah,
but I mean, like since then they bring it back like every album. I feel like they bring something back that's the Cure. Yeah, and I'm like, hell yeah, all right.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Neighborhoods I still think is a strong listen. There are songs on it that I just... Snake Charmer, dude.
Yeah.
I used to like that song, but the more I listen to it, I'm like, this is just... Oof. It just makes me kind of cringe.
It's not the best one.
Good girls like to sin.
Yeah, it's kind of...
I'm sorry. I don't know, Pete. Let's get into your thoughts.
Pete's getting angry.
Pete looks disgusted right now.
He's so upset.
I just think... I mean, like... Neighborhoods to me was, it did sound like it was recorded in 3 different studios, because it was, a more Angels and Airwaves version of Tom, a more Plus 44 sounding Mark, and then Travis doing Travis stuff. And that was kind of like, I thought it had the perfect balance of, the old sound, some of those guitar riffs, the vocals working back and forth off each other a lot, catchy all the way through, and really good drum parts all the way through. So I thought that it just was a little like, listening to it then, I was like, fuck yeah, like this is what I've been waiting for. I was so hyped. And because I am an Angels and Airwaves fan, I like the sound, so I didn't mind that it leaned in that way a little bit. But yeah, listening to it now, you do hear a little more of you can definitely hear where they either were butting heads or just not willing to kind of work to get a communal, well meshed sound, and each of their parts made it in, but it sounded like what it was. So I don't know. I just put it above Enema of the State because I never, maybe it's just that I listened to the instruments first and not the lyrics, or that, I was introduced later when it was, Toy Patch was out and those songs caught me first. But Enema, like, it's a great listen all the way through, but I wouldn't say that it's a, top 3 for sure. But I don't know. Neighborhoods to me, I would rather listen all the way through, whereas Enema, I'd rather hit like Dumpweed. I like most of the songs, but I would rather listen to Neighborhoods all the way through.
Gotcha.
Damn.
Yeah. I do think too, and I think we mentioned,
but it's all gonna come down to personal preference, because it's like, people who like more of that punkier sound and the pop, even like the pop punk people. Like I have a friend who's like solely Toy Patch and before, because doesn't like that,
that's my favorite shit.
Self-titled went in any sort of different way, and it's like,
see, listening to self-titled now that I'm a grown-ass man, like, I'm like, okay, I can definitely appreciate this. I get down on it a lot more, and I really enjoy it now.
Yeah.
And back then I was still excited about it. It was so different that it was hard to almost associate with Blink-182. Like, it felt like a different band, because it was just so vastly different.
Yeah.
But it was still great. But I hated on that album for a very long time. And now that I'm older and I went back and listened to it, I'm like, man, like, I wish I didn't,
Well, and I feel like, though, too, even since I was a teenager, up until now, like, with you guys living back up here, and we've talked a lot about music more now that I'm deeper into it. And, like, I definitely feel like you look deeper at the different elements of an album, like, whereas back then I remember like you would just have maybe like one opinion on something, and like that would be it. But now, like, we'll sit and have these types of conversations, and you'll be like, damn, like,
yeah.
So like, yeah, it's it's cool how like our views can kind of grow and change, and who knows, maybe one day I'll be like, yo, Neighborhoods is in my top 5. Who knows?
It's gonna be Dogs Eating Dogs. It's gonna be your top.
Oh, good lord. Nah, it's cool. But yeah, self-titled is
specifically Pretty Little Girl. It's gonna be your favorite song of all time.
Dude, like self-titled's a really weird album because, again, listening to it all the way through,
there's not enough Mark. That's my problem. There's a lot of Tom.
I feel like that was your gripe about it a couple years ago when we talked about it. Yeah. I think it's
doing Grammy's Floors.
Yeah, was that when we were talking about it? Yeah. It's weird because like you hear Feeling This and it sounds like Blink. Like
that's a fantastic song.
I could hear that fitting in on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket as like a demo or a bonus track. But then when you go into Obvious and you are like, you're kind of like, what the hell is this? Like, you know, like I could see where someone would be like, you know, because it does almost sound, it's very, like Blink, Tom is always whiny, but Obvious is almost like over the top, like, you know.
Yeah.
And then I Miss You's like where it just completely goes over the edge. Like and then Violence is weird.
I really love that song now.
Well, no, but I'm just saying I could see where someone who was into pre-self-titled, they would hear it and they'd be like, oh, Feeling This, like this is different, but it's cool. And then you get into the next 3 tracks and you're like, what the fuck am I listening to? You know?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, at the time I was still like very, like I did like it a lot, but like in a private level.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I wouldn't be like, hey guys, let's listen to, you know,
the new Blink album,
together, and let's hold hands during I Miss You and caress each other. Like,
hey, that's how I spent my whole summer with Jack in 8th grade. No,
I know.
Making out to I Miss You. No, just kidding. Sorry, Jack. He's not listening. He's not listening.
You're not kidding. It's okay.
Well, it's funny. So I actually texted him because when I was doing the ranking and I was like, I'm about to put Neighborhoods above Enema of the State. And he said, so the thing is, like, my friend Jack, we started playing guitar almost at the same time. We got into music, like, really into music almost at the same time. And I remember he's not really a Blink fan anymore, but, like, I'm not at all, really. But at that age, you know, we both listened to them. And I texted him that. And he sends back, he's like, dude, I'm not even a fan, and I know that Enema of the State takes a steaming shit all over Neighborhoods. And
it's a huge album, dude.
For someone like Jack to say that, like, you know there's something wrong, you know. But, yeah, I don't know.
I was just looking through the self-titled track list and just trying to... It definitely is Tom heavier. I don't think I ever even realized
I don't,
that. But
I don't think Mark has a single song, like, by himself. Like how on other albums they would, like, kind of trade off a little bit. Or...
I think Here's Your Letter is all Mark. But that may be the only one.
No,
I think maybe there is just one.
There's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
But he definitely, Tom takes the lead a lot.
Yeah, it's really Tom heavy.
But then the thing is, too, and I'm not trying to, like, compare to other bands because I don't want to open that whole discussion, but, like, there are, if, like, being in the Alkaline Trio, there are some albums, and they've even come out in interviews and said, like, you know, there are albums where Dan, the bassist, sings a lot of the songs, and then there are ones where Matt Skiba sings a lot of the songs, and they've come out and been like, yeah, it's just usually how it turns out during the writing process, like, you know.
Which makes sense. As a
and
musician, like,
and it's not like a planned thing. It's just kind of like that's how it happens when they write it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's just how the self-titled album came out.
Yeah, and because it is weird. We have the live, you know, documentary taking us through. They're writing it all together, so it's must be interesting to get. You're never going to get enough of an in-depth look to understand exactly how the songs are written. Like, oh, there they are writing the chorus, but it's like, how'd they get to that? So it's interesting to ponder and speculate.
Yeah, because in between there's cigarette breaks where they talk, and
you know, like
you don't get to see everything.
Mark smashing his guitar in the parking lot and then running it over with his car. And what were some of the other things that happened on those videos?
Well, they don't show all the tension that was building for sure. That, like, within months inevitably snapped. So it's like,
how do we know for sure that, like, that's when they were pissed at each other? Well, I guess because that's after Boxcar Racer. So
yeah, it's like tensions and they could have been passive aggressive, right?
Yeah, and you can feel it as well.
Did you ever go and look up that last show in Dublin that we were talking about? I did it last night. It's bad. Oh man,
I feel like I've seen it before. Drunk. Again, like I said, No, they just hated each other
They're
on
dude,
stage.
they're playing like
pretty clearly.
They're playing like 3 times as fast, and there's even one point where they're like on stage, and Tom's like, "Fuck you, Mark! You fucking eat shit!" You know?
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's sad.
He's like almost crying. Yeah.
It's like watching your parents get divorced.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Honestly.
Yeah, right.
But
And it happened to us twice in our lifetime.
God.
Tell them, talk about a rough life.
Some of us more.
Oh, jeez. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Is there anything else that we want to touch on? Did you want to talk about 9 at all before we wrap up?
Just that, my opinion's been changed by you. Like, I definitely listened through it after we talked and was like, yeah, I can definitely now see how, like, even California's deluxe version, like some of those songs, I'm like, and it's interesting because the Matt element sometimes makes it less mainstream, like so far from not so far from mainstream, but it's just like, wow, that one must have been an experimental song. It's like, no, that's just one where like Matt incorporated stuff and you've never heard that before because like it just wasn't an element of Blink before. So it's like, that's interesting to hear and think about and be like, all right, I appreciate it for that.
Yeah.
I think one of my like Matt annoyances during that album, and maybe even in California, is the like yelling in the background kind of stuff.
Oh, see, I love that.
They do it too much. Like, I don't mind it a little bit. It's just like I felt like it was just constant.
Yeah, well, maybe it's almost too, like, think about Cynical. Because, so, like, I think the thing, I remember when they were recording California, and Mark posted a clip of Matt singing the chorus to Cynical, but you couldn't hear the song, you just heard him singing. And everyone was like, what is this song? We need to hear this. And maybe because they saw how much everyone loved that part of the song, they were like, all right, Matt needs to, like, scream on every song now. Because the thing is, like, if you listen to old Alkaline Trio, like, and I don't want to say new Alkaline Trio because he does sing a lot, pretty much 100% now. He just sings, but like on those older, like Maybe I'll Catch Fire and Good Morning, and even the one with the cassette tape, there is a lot of ones where he is almost like screaming, or just like, you know, that wail, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Also,
like talking about maybe how Matt, when you were saying about how he kind of gets them away from the mainstream sound, I think part of why he can kind of blend in with their sound and maybe try and imitate the Blink sound a little too much is that he has also come out and said like he's ghost written for people before, so maybe he is really good at kind of chameleoning, is that a term? Being a chameleon in that studio situation where he can kind of just come in and be like, just blend in. You know, instead of until they say like, okay, go be the dark overlord that we all know and love, the vampire
put
in the
on
closet.
your cape.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I just to go into 9, I've said it a bunch of times. Like, I really love that album because of the elements Matt throws in, the scratchy guitars, you know, just like the harmonics and the, you know,
they definitely let the guitars go a little bit more. Like
they're there,
hear them and feel them a lot more. Compared to California, anyway.
Yeah, and I just, you know, his influence, like Black Rain, that he's all over that song, or I'm trying to think. Well, it's really interesting too because if you look at like in the booklet for 9, they worked with a bunch of different producers on that one, and the thing is like, just because someone has songwriting credits doesn't mean that like they wrote the whole song. Like literally for legal reasons, if someone writes one tiny piano part, you have to credit them as a songwriter for legal purposes. But the only song where they had no producer and no additional songwriters was On Some Emo Shit, which is like the third to last. It's like very clean, like clean guitars pretty much the whole time. So like it's interesting because I wonder if that's what like those songs that they scrapped from California era sounded like without any producer. But yeah, I don't know. I just love the elements that Skiba brought to that album and like how it was more experimental. The guitars are more present. It hits a little heavier. And also too, like I've said many times, it came at a time in my life when I really needed it. I just went through a shitty breakup, messy breakup, and I still had yeah.
There's an episode about that, right?
Yeah. My 21st birthday episode.
Go listen to it. Be depressed.
It's just like one of those things where like I had all these, I don't know, what what's the word I'm looking for? Like all these feelings that were kind of like lingering, right? Like whether it was like feelings of still being in love or feelings of trying to let go of someone being in pain. And I feel like when that album came out, like, and then also getting into like doing like the dating thing, and you know, like the first time that song would get me so hyped when I'd go to like hang out with a girl, I would listen to that song, or like, you know, because it's like there's that sense of possibility there, right?
Yeah.
But then there's like Happy Days and like, or like Heaven, where it's like, you know, it is very, I guess, contemplative, and it's like, yeah, like I'm depressed, I do want to get happy again, you know. So like I think for me it's a very personal thing because it came at a time when I needed it. But I also will go back and listen. It's in my regular rotation. I listen to it now and it still doesn't feel stale to me. So
yeah, it's cool that they're still able to like put out that. I always get this sense of like longing whenever I'm like like even that album. Like there's always every Blink album. There's always that at least a song.
Yeah,
that it's just like you have this sense of longing where you're like, man, like I want something else, you know, like I don't know, but it's cool that they're still able to do that, and they're like they've been doing it for how fucking long. Yeah, and you know, even with member changes, they're still able to like pull at that like little bit of nostalgia, and you know. And
I would say, you know, all the way through all these albums, and maybe it's because we are nuts, but like they're pretty much all solid all the way through. Yeah. More solid than any other band can write. Like there's going to be some albums that bands write where it's like, oh, this song's way better than 3 of those songs, but it's like every album has like 5 to 7 songs where you're like, I'm going to listen to all these if I'm listening to this album. So it's like just always a solid effort, even when it is like, oh, I don't like it. It's like, oh, this is, you know, I'm going to listen to these, at least 5 of these songs.
Right. And for a band that's been around for as long as they have been.
What, 30 years now?
It's insane.
Isn't this their 30-year anniversary this year?
Is it this year?
Yeah, like 92 was, holy shit.
Dang.
That's wild. We got to get someone to listen. We got to...
I was
tag them all.
I was driving in my car the other day, and I was listening to one of their albums in preparation for this, and I was like, I've almost been listening to Blink-182 for like 25 years.
It's so
like, what
crazy.
The fuck is wrong with
and
me?
It's just, I mean, I don't know about
and it
you
still
guys,
hits.
For me, it's like when I don't know what to listen to. Sometimes I'll get so overwhelmed by how many different artists there are that I don't know what to listen to. So I just listen to Blink-182.
Yeah,
I'm like, well,
it works every time.
I only have a finite amount of time on this earth, so I might as well spend it listening to something I know I'm gonna like instead of giving anything else a shot.
Hell yeah.
And that's a really good point that you mentioned, because I feel like I was thinking the same thing this week too, because like I'm only 24. But like to think,
don't rub it in, Matt.
Hey, dude, you're 26. Shut up.
2 years is a long time. You wait.
No, I'm 34.
I was a spry 24-year-old.
I'm 34.
No, but it's one of those things like just to think like I've been listening to Blink for over 10 years, and it's crazy. Like when I talk to people, I'm like, oh, I've been out of high school for 6 years. Holy shit! Like I think like time's going really fast, you know.
Oh, just wait.
I've been playing guitar for 11 years. Like holy shit.
Yeah.
You know.
I always thought it'd be better by now.
Nope.
I still suck.
I just keep playing these shitty Blink songs and wonder why I'm not getting better.
Yeah. No, but
it's okay.
But we got to get. I'm gonna tag all of them as many times as they're gonna block me by the time.
You gotta tag Scott Rayner. Get him. He'll be the one to share it.
Get him to come out and play drums for us. We could do a Blink
cover band
revival.
Dude Rancher earlier only.
Yeah, right.
Featuring an original member. We could sell this to arenas.
God, it would totally
just pitch it as, we got an original member. They're
it's
like,
probably happened already.
And we'll get a cease and desist from Mark Hoppus.
No, I'm pretty sure Scott Rayner would probably be like, "Fuck off! I don't want to hear about this band anymore."
Dude, I remember. So I was on the Blink-182 Reddit page pretty regularly for a few years. I have since removed myself because those people are toxic. But
that's Reddit.
The thing is
social media.
I remember
social media in general. Yeah,
there was this weird period in time, probably around the time California came out, where all the people were like, "Oh, guys, Scott's in this like doom metal or whatever band. He plays in California still. I went to his show and I got him to sign my Blink record, and I was asking him about Blink, and I'm like, dude, this guy is probably like, I don't want to think about Blink. It's been like, almost 20 years since I've been in the band. Like,
I'm not even in the genre anymore.
Like, could you imagine that? Like, not getting kicked out of a band, and 20 years later, people are coming and finding you at local shows where you're playing with some completely different band,
so fucking
and they're
annoying.
like asking you about some band you play. It's like someone coming to you and asking you about high school 20 years after you graduate.
Seriously,
Matt, I still get like a little bit just like, did you really have to? When someone will be like, can you play House Special 2 at your next show? It's like,
I mean,
not the
could
same
you though?
band, different person,
but could
different
you?
band, don't ask that. Hey,
Come on,
there's
man.
a reunion of Above Mendoza, we can make it happen.
If you do a reunion of
that song
Above
so
the
much.
Mendoza and you cover Came Out Swinging, I want to do the vocals for the whole song.
All right, sounds good. You just got to talk everybody into relearning their instruments and getting in the room together on the same day and learning all the songs and playing them. If you can do that, we'll do it.
Hey guys, we have Soupy here Came Out Swinging, and then I come out and they're like, wait, this is some fake ass.
You gotta like
This isn't
shave your
Soupy,
head
this
for
is just
it.
a different guy with a beard.
Yeah. I think this is a good spot to wrap. This was a fun episode, fun discussion about one of our favorite bands. Very influential band on all of us, I would say. Helped to shape our youth and our coming of age.
And it's, what's interesting is that you got 3 people who would be like enough of a fan to list all the albums and rank them, and you have 3 completely different lists. And I'm sure if you ask anyone who knows all the albums, you're going to get somewhat of a different list.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like interesting that a band can impact so many people who are so similar in so many ways on such a different level, but also that's like really general talk, but it's like it hits us in the same place but also in a much different way.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, super cool, super glad we got to do this. If you like what you heard, give Fueled by Coffee Podcast a follow here on SoundCloud. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Go buy some merch. Sign up for our email newsletter and go listen to Blink-182. Tag everyone. I want you to tag them all in this. Mark, Tom, Travis, Matt Skiba, the Blink-182
Even
page.
Stinky Feldman.
Stinky. Hashtag Stinky Feldman. Tag them all. Seriously, I want at least one of them.
Got a lot more money than me.
Dude, I would love for Mark to hear this. Or all of these episodes. I would love for him
Be
to...
crazy.
On my SoundCloud, I would love for a comment to pop up and be like, well, this is wrong in our history. This is wrong in our history. That'd be so cool. I'd be honored to be told I was wrong by Mark Hoppus.
Yeah.
To get shit on by Mark, literally and figuratively. But
He would probably poop on you.
Yeah, there you go. It's out there. Mark, if you listen to these albums, you can poop on Matt.
But anyways, hope you like what you heard. Give us a follow, guys. Thanks for being on. And check back in 2 weeks. We're very close to the drop of season 4. We have one more episode in between now and season 4, and it's going to be a B-reel of the time Sean and I went through my Diary of a Wimpy Kid do-it-yourself book. It was B-reel. Before we were recording an episode
Good
one
shit.
time. Just 45 minutes of me. I went down on my bookshelf. I went down on my bookshelf.
And you whipped it out.
No, it was one of those things where I was just going through books and I picked it up and I opened it up and we just started going through it while I was recording. And it's kind of
silly.
It's a silly little
It's silly.
B-reel. It's like 45 minutes. So check back in 2 weeks for that. Go check out all the other Blink-182 episodes we did, and I will see y'all on the next one.